is the only thing stopping us from achieving our dreams, and we only fear what we don't understand, then the antidote to fear is knowledge. All we have to do is find out who has the knowledge that we need to conquer our fears and achieve our entrepreneurial dreams. My name is Callum Walker, and welcome to the podcast that will help you figure it out and conquer this lonely entrepreneurial journey.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast. Today, I am taking advantage of my great British superpower once again, and I'm going to open up by complaining about the weather, because this weather absolutely stinks again. We are in the middle of July, and it is still absolutely caning it down with rain. It is cold, it is wet, and I have the heating on. Yes, but you're not here to listen to a weather forecast or a podcast about the weather. What you're here for today is to hear all about Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland. Now, I have no doubt you probably already think I'm fucking crazy. I know that I think I'm fucking crazy. My partner thinks I'm crazy. And pretty much every other person who works with me also thinks that I'm crazy. But bear with me, because there is an immense lesson here. And it's also, whenever I felt I'm not making any progress, I'm not moving forward, I'm not having the success that I've really tried to set out to have, it, in all honesty, has literally come down to this principle in Alice in Wonderland. And it's two parts of the story in Alice in Wonderland that will really reveal to you exactly why you're not making progress. But naturally, when we know what the problem is, when we know what the poison is, we can then come up with the antidote to that poison. We can then come up with the solution to that problem. So remember that whenever we are experiencing any problems, any challenges, any difficulties, we can feel an element of inspiration from going, okay, right, something's not working. Why is it not working? What is the problem here? What is the hurdle I need to overcome? What is the poison that is currently causing me this pain? And then I can go, okay, once I know what the problem is, once I know what the poison is, I can then come up with the solution. So that's what we really need to do. And that's what I really am sharing with you here. Now, what's Alice in Wonderland got to do with this? Well, I think one thing for me that has become very abundantly clear has been, especially for myself, has been my interest in story. My interest in stories. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you'll know that I teach in stories, for one. I also share a lot of lessons that I've got from stories, whether that's been a film, whether that's been a book, or other individuals. And I think it's so important to grasp that. Now, what's story got to do with anything? Well, again, if you look at the best teachers of all time, I'm not religious myself, but you look at the religion of Christianity, Jesus is known as the greatest teacher of all time. Now, how did Jesus teach? He taught in parables. He taught in story form. So the lessons that he was sharing with his disciples was very much kind of shared through expressing stories, and there was a lesson within those stories. And again, throughout, if you look at our ability to connect with so many things in life, you look at art in the sense of music. Why do you connect with a specific song so powerfully? It's because of the story that song is actually telling. Now, the beauty, what's this got to do with your coaching? You'll understand in a second. But if you look at the beauty of music and the real success of the highest quality songs, most of the time you really connect with a song because you're hearing the lyrics, you're hearing the story that is put in that song, and you're probably putting your own story into it. I know for myself, whenever I hear Coldplay's Fix You, I have my own story and my own situation that I naturally associate with that song. And it's almost like when Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay, is singing that song, I'm very much almost kind of like having that song play out my own story, and it works as a form of therapy, a form of connection, and I really connect with that song. Now, what's this got to do with Alice in Wonderland, and what's this got to do with your coaching? Well, I think first of all, in terms of the story side of things, an amazing way to teach and coach your clients is to share stories. Right now, we're in the middle of my Next Level Coach 6-week course. And the big thing that I've been pushing to every single one of the amazing coaches on this course has very much been, first of all, you're learning all of this nutritional stuff, yes, to get better results with your clients. But before you go and apply it to your clients, what I need you to do is go and apply it to yourself. Go and apply it to yourself. Now, why is that important? Because then you can do the most powerful thing in coaching, which really is the antidote to imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and overcoming any form of fear of criticism, which is very much getting away from sharing facts and start sharing lessons and stories. My clients will, very much attribute to this, that all I do is just tell stories. Think about this podcast right now. All I'm doing is just telling a story. I'm sharing an experience, and there is a lesson hidden within that experience. And isn't this really what life is about? About really being able to experience certain things, identify what was that lesson that I needed to learn the lesson, and then go and utilize the learnings from that lesson to go and ensure that the next time you're faced with that problem, you then naturally come up with the solution and you become the person capable of being able to operate at that level. Now, again, I come back to, what's Alice in Wonderland got to do with anything? Well, I really, really connected with that book. Again, it's a children's book. It's a children's book. It's not like, it's not an incredible read. When I actually think about it, it's actually kind of like it's a very, very strange and wacky book when you really, really think about it. However, one thing that it is there's amazing lessons within there. And I think the most important lesson I want to share with you comes in two experiences that Alice has. She, first of all, there's a point where she comes and she's on her way, just walking along the path that she's on, and she comes up to the Cheshire Cat. Okay, she comes up to the Cheshire Cat. And what happens is Alice is a little bit lost. She's wandering around and she's trying to find her way, yeah. And she comes to the Cheshire Cat, and she goes to the Cheshire Cat. She says, Mr. Cheshire Cat, which way do I need to go? And the Cheshire Cat responds with, well, where do you want to go? Where are you heading? She goes, I don't know. And the Cheshire Cat responds with, well, it doesn't matter which way you're going then. The direction is irrelevant, because it doesn't matter, does it? So again, what's the lesson there? You know, if you don't have a destination, how do you know where you're going? How do you know what direction to go? How do you know what steps to take? She then has another encounter with a caterpillar. And at this point in the story, Alice has... She basically has been eating this little cake, which has been changing the height at which she's becoming. So sometimes she eats one piece of cake and she becomes a giant. Then she eats another cake and she becomes tiny. And basically she asks the caterpillar, she's like, what cake do I need to eat? And the caterpillar responds with, well, how tall do you want to be? And again, I don't know. And he goes, well, it doesn't matter how much cake you eat or what cake you're going to eat then. So I think that we can, when we bring this whole thing down and strip it all back, peel off all the layers of the onion and strip it all down to its simplest form, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? Like, what is it specifically? What is the specific thing you're trying to actually do? And it's amazing that this concept is so simple, yet for some reason we heavily overcomplicate things. And you hear all of this, set goals, set big goals. But it's not about goal setting, it's about knowing what you're doing. And I think that this has very much been kind of a lesson that I've also learned through yoga, which has been at the start of every yoga practice, it's set an intention. So what is your specific intention that you are trying to actually do? And I think this is really how our mind truly works. That we get caught up in all of this chaos, this mental chaos, this feeling of overwhelm, this almost like this monster that we can sometimes create, that it feels like it's pulling us in so many different directions. And I think that comes down to the fact that we haven't actually set our mind to focus and concentrate its energy on one specific thing. And what is the specific thing you're trying to actually achieve? And then do every single thing that you possibly can to actually achieve that one thing. So I don't necessarily, you can call this about goal setting, but it's important to have a fucking destination, because how do you know if, whatever, piece of work that you're doing is actually working or not? I remember listening to Dan Kennedy. He's Russell's original mentor, one of the best copywriters of all time, probably the best marketer that I've ever come across. And he was talking about content, and he goes, how do you know if a piece of content is good if you don't have a specific outcome that content is geared towards achieving? And we're not on about it in terms of likes and engagement and whatever. It being like, okay, let's say you put out a piece of content that is solely put in place to get people to listen to your podcast episode. How do you know if that piece of content was any good if you don't actually have a clear destination that it's actually pointing people towards, to then measure like, okay, right, when we did this, we had this number of people listen to the podcast? And it's so simple. I'm going to put my hands up. I've overcomplicated it so many times here. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? What is the specific thing you are moving towards? What is the specific target you're trying to hit? So if there's one thing I can really kind of like ask you off the back of this episode, get clear on what do you want? What are you trying to do? Am I trying to have more clients? Okay, how many? Okay. Am I trying to, so for myself, I'm like, right, I want 100 members on my Next Level Coach program in 12 months time. And every single piece of work that I am doing is centered towards having 100 members on my Next Level Coach membership. So there's a lesson, a huge lesson there. Never forget, if every one of your clients gave you just one new client, you've doubled your business.